Mic check. Yo, hello, hello. How's everybody here? Welcome to the Audible Show, where we fuck bitches and smoke weed, and also make that money. First guest coming up to the show, we got Russell Crowe tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We also got Alicia Keys. That's the first hit of legitimate weed I've had in like almost 36 hours. Alright, so every once in a while I read a comment that inspires an entire vlog. Somebody named Jimmy EG1 commented on my first LSD experience video. And he put, "Hey bro, have you ever experienced any sleep paralysis or experienced any strange things before while not on drugs, or hear voices, anything like demonic?" It really piqued my interest because I have experienced shit like that. So I'm gonna kind of wrap this up into like a sleep paralysis and nightmares kind of video. I'm pretty sure this is what sleep paralysis is. I don't think I've ever experienced anything closer to what I would think it is. There was this one time that I slightly remember a few years back when my daughter was real young. It was just me and her sleeping in this upstairs kind of loft area that was like my room. I don't remember why, but we were sleeping on the ground. And I'm pretty sure she was in like her crib next to me, or like a playpen we had or something like that. I remember going to sleep, and then I woke up and I remember I thought it was a nightmare. But as I started thinking about it more, I knew like, no, I was fucking like awake, but I just couldn't move. What was happening is that I was literally laying there. I was awake though. I could see everything around me. It was in the dark. I was laying there for like probably a couple hours, sweating like crazy, like soaking. Like I remember the blanket I had was soaking. I remember the ground underneath me was soaking. And it was because I was not able to move, and I kept thinking like, wow, what if something happens to her and I can't wake up? Like, is she okay? I can't even look over to see if she's okay. And I remember the fear I had was just, it was like crazy, like beyond words. The next morning, like I said, I thought it was a dream. So I'm pretty sure that's what sleep paralysis is. Something similar to sleep paralysis that I think I might have had was a time at my grandma's house. I'm pretty sure it was also like a bad dream. Pretty much I was having these crazy fucking nightmares about numbers and about having to divide a certain number into a certain number without using paper or calculator or anything. And I had to do it in my head, and I had to solve it, or else it was like even worse than I was gonna die. It was like worse than even every single person I knew and loved was gonna die. It was like, I don't know, like the worst possible thing ever is gonna happen if I can't divide these two numbers. And it was like, it was to this day probably the most scared I can ever remember actually feeling. It was like the feeling of falling mentally. It was the most scariest thing ever. And it was, I couldn't explain it when I was young. I remember I would try to tell people and they'd be like, "What? You're a nerd." Like, I remember people telling me that I was a nerd because I was thinking about dividing in my dreams, and the fact that I couldn't was like the scariest thing in the world to me. But it was, and to this day, like I've never been that afraid in life or in a nightmare ever. I can't remember ever being as scared as that moment was. And it happened like multiple times. It happened like at least 3 different times, and it was mostly in this one room at my grandma's house, this little side room that she has, which is crazy because family members that I actually have said that they have like weird feelings in that room. So those are kind of the closest things to sleep paralysis, I guess, that I've ever had. And the only reason I would even call the thing with the numbers sleep paralysis was because I kind of remember being like seeing, like it wasn't just black in my dream. It was actually like I was awake and I was looking around, and all this shit was going through my head. There was also some crazy ass nightmares I had, or I have had, throughout life. These two I had when I was really young. The first one that I can remember having was this crazy ass fucking scene at my old church where pretty much it was just like a regular Sunday. We were having church or whatever. And all of a sudden, like, curtains came down from the windows and everything got dark and like super red. Like somebody just turned on a bunch of like red lights. And we used to have at the top of like the altar or the stage there, it used to open up and there was a thing where you could baptize people, like a water, like a tub kind of thing. And I remember that just shot up and there were like demons flying out of it and like killing people and like eating. Everybody was being eaten around me, and I was just sitting there in the front row looking around, and all my family was being eaten and just like devoured, and there were like demons and blood all over the walls and crazy ass shit.
Demons and blood all over the walls.
And then all of a sudden, like, everything started shaking more, and it was the devil. I just knew it was him. Like, I don't know how, but I knew it was him. And he just came up slowly out of the little thing where all the demons were coming out. He came up slowly and was like laughing, and it was like the most evil looking devil you could ever imagine. And then slowly he stopped laughing and just looked and stared right at me. And then like right as that happened, like that was the most scared part of, or most scared I was in the dream, and I just woke up right there. I remember this one time also that I had this dream where I was sleeping in the living room, and I actually was sleeping in the living room. But my dream was that I woke up and I looked outside the window, or I woke up, I stood up, and I looked at the window, and there was a man standing there just staring at us. And I just stood there and stared at him for like 10 seconds, and then I woke up. It was probably more scary waking up and like being awake after having that nightmare than the nightmare was itself. Other than that, let's see. I guess you can kind of consider this sleep paralysis, maybe because I'm pretty sure I was like half asleep though. I don't think I was fully asleep. I think it was just like a crazy mind state I got in, and I was really stoned. But I used to watch these videos on this website called bloodshows.com. You guys have probably seen the ultimate reaction videos that we've done. Four girls in one mouth.
Four girls, one mouth. Here. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, dude. Oh, God. I'm not gonna make that smell.
Poop on the face.
That shit's in his eye. Oh my goodness.
Spinning head on ground, whatever it is.
Oh! Damn!
I honestly think it kind of scarred me because I if not for those videos, I would have never ever even been able to see those things. But there were certain videos, like the beheading videos, that really, I think, got to me because of this. Pretty much, I was sleeping in my bed, and, like, I don't know, just, I kept thinking about the videos, like, they kept going through my head, the beheading ones. And for some reason, I couldn't get it out of my head that there was somebody beheading somebody on the floor next to my bed. It's like, it was happening, and I had the feeling like it was happening. But I almost knew it wasn't, but I don't know, but I still had the feeling that it was. Those are really the only things that really came to mind. As far as like demons and shit, and like ghosts or any sort of like kind of experiences like that, I guess I could tell one story, which is probably the closest I've ever been, or I guess there's two. One story is real quick. Pretty much this one time, me and my brother sat a soda down on a table, and the soda wasn't like wet at all. Like you would think, like if it was wet, it could do it. But we sat a soda. It was dry as fuck. We picked it up and put it back down and did it again. We sat the soda down in the daytime at some fucking restaurant, and it literally kept moving from one side of the table to the other side of the table. And we picked it up and made sure it was dry and everything else, put it back down, and it would do it again. And then we kept trying over and over and didn't do it again. It happened twice. And I don't know what the fuck that was. I haven't even really thought about that in a long time. But so I don't know if that was a ghost thing or just some weird science thing. This one time that I really do consider to be some sort of afterlife experience was my great grandma had died, and she had died like a week before her birthday, and we had the funeral, and then the day after was her birthday. So the day after, we had a bunch of family over. We got a cake and we sang happy birthday, and right after we sang happy birthday, it was real quiet and everybody was kind of just silent. And then all of a sudden, this doorbell rang. And the reason that it's so crazy that this doorbell rang was because the doorbell was actually something that my great grandma would call my grandma with. So she needed something because she couldn't walk and she was in the back room. She would press this button because she needed my grandma to go back there and help her. The crazier thing about it was that the actual button to press was wrapped up and put away deep in a drawer. And it still went off. It went off twice. Right when it went off, everybody just like looked directly at me. But they looked directly at me because I was in the area of the hallway. All I said was, I didn't do it. I said out loud, I didn't do it. So my grandma started crying and she walked back to the back and they opened up the drawer, and it was right there, the button that she would press. So they took the batteries out of it and just put it away, and I never did it again. I honestly think it was my grandma kind of trying to send a signal there. I honestly do. Like, that was the most intense thing ever. Crazy because it happened like right as we sang happy birthday, and right when we were done singing happy birthday, in that moment of silence right there, like bam, it just went off. And it hadn't gone off like that since she died. Like, it had never ever gone off by itself on accident or nothing like that. And as far as hearing voices, one time when I was coming down from meth, I heard somebody call my name from my closet. So yeah. I was gonna not say it, but then every time I'm like, nah, I can't say that. Then I feel like a little bitch. You know, who cares? I did meth a couple times. It was gross. Maybe I should do a trip story about meth.
Are you up to 12 or 12:30?
12:30.
Where the hoes at? Your boy drunk and ain't never gonna go back. In the club with the motherfucking bowl packs. Where the coke at? Where the K at? Trying to turn up like a snowcat. Universe and Jimmy got blow back. Yeah, we all that like the show back. Only keep Patron in the 4-pack.